movie audiences first saw Robert Duvall on film 20 years ago in To Kill a Mockingbird as Boo Radley. 30 films later, Vincent Canby wrote in the New York Times, "It's about time to recognize Robert Duvall as one of the most resourceful, most technically proficient, most remarkable actors in America today. I think he may well be the best we have, the American Olivier." And we'll be right back with Robert Duvall.
Robert Duvall is with us. We've been talking about specific films, specific performances, and you still talk all this time later about the film version of Faulkner's Tomorrow with Horton Foote's screenplay. You were Fentry.
Exactly.
You were a dirt farmer who took in a pregnant woman, raised her child, the town took the child away from you.
Right.
And here we are.
He named the child after the two generals his father fought under in the Civil War, Jackson and Longstreet. So he'd say, "Come here to me, Jackson and Longstreet." That's what he named his baby.
Is it still for you one of, if not the piece of film work you're proudest of?
Yeah, I just finished another one, Tender Mercies, where I play like a fourth cousin of that guy, but much more educated, more sophisticated. And Horton Foote, once again, who's a wonderful writer. Yeah.
How much of that, Bob, had to do with the fact that you got to do it 21 times on stage before you did it on film?
I thought it was 25.
It was 25? Oh, you're including the previews.
It certainly helped. You know, it was like a complete experience, which you usually don't get to do. I always say there's a legitimate smugness that a stage actor has over a film actor, and that you can always go do film, not always successful, but the reverse is not always true. So here's a project where I played a character in a small theater, very small, seated about 85 or 90 at most, 21, 25, whatever the number of performances were, and then about a year later, Olga Bell and her husband produced it. And it was like really a complete experience. Like I had once heard that French actor Gerard Philippe would go off his version of off-Broadway, rehearse and do a play, then film it. So this was similar. It was a complete experience.
I'm just thinking about the evening you were in that little theater doing the performance of Tomorrow, and Dustin Hoffman, John Voight, John Schlesinger, and the entire crew of Midnight Cowboy came in. You walked out on stage, opened your mouth with your southern dirt farmer accent, and what happened in the theater?
Well, it was like some laughter. It was a wonderful evening because I had to calm down, not from nervousness, but from a certain kind of excitement. And I remember at the end, it was one of those nights where everybody was bravoing and they stamped. It was one of those wonderful evenings in the theater, you know, even though it was a small, non-commercial theater. And they wanted to make it a commercial run. I said, no, this is enough. This is fine.
Didn't you say it was like an athletic event?
That was American Buffalo. That was like
Buffalo?
Yeah, that was like an American, because it was the critics. I could feel that somewhat of a negative thing coming from that one section of the critics, but we just overrode it. We overrode it. Yeah, it was like an athletic event, you know, in a way. You know, I mean, you're like competing in a way. Without consciously doing it, you're competing like with somebody like the critics or something, who'll give you credit, but they're also there to knock you possibly, and may look to knock you possibly.
Why isn't the performance you gave as Teach in American Buffalo, why hasn't American Buffalo been put on film?
Well, I think Al Pacino did it for like a year off Broadway, a few years after we did it, and I think they had talked about taping it or filming it, and they had talked of making a film out of it. I don't know. They'd have to open it up and so forth. I think sometimes plays do make better plays than movies, and I don't necessarily have any desire to play it in a film. I didn't even have my parents come because the language is so bad, so I don't want it frozen for posterity. But I love that part very much. I love doing that part. I met my wife, John Savage, who was in it, and his lovely sister Gail became my wife 5 years later. Yeah, we met then.
When you talk about directors, certain directors, like Ulu Grossbart, or Coppola, I mean, why not, working 6 times with them?
Yeah.
But everything hasn't been that smooth. I mean, when you were
not smooth right now, I can't get a job.
Are you serious?
I'm serious, the right kind of job. It's slow now, yeah. It never seems to be easy in a way, so.
When you say it never seems to be easy, I'll interrupt myself and change the subject to Angelo, My Love, because almost 5 years ago now, you're walking down a street in New York and you hear a boy turn to a woman on a street and say, "Patricia, if you don't love me no more, I'm going to move out To where?
Cincinnati.
To Cincinnati? And you turn around and you meet this gypsy boy,
Yeah.
Angelo Evans.
Right.
And all of a sudden, Robert Duvall, who should be reading scripts, whose brother Jack should be making better deals,
Right.
pours his own money
Yes.
into making a dream a reality. Angelo, my love.
Yes.
And you say, it's the best thing you've ever done in your life. You directed it. But it was also the toughest thing you've ever done because you had to fire people. You're an easygoing guy. You may be incommunicative sometimes.
You're
and-
right. You hit it all.
And
That's
people
true.
try to take advantage or take over.
Yeah, because I allow that. You know, as an actor, I say, this is it, pals. This is what I want to do. Now, as I get older, but, you know, directing, I'm finding my way more. So, therefore, I do tend to be passive, and then they want to take over, and it reaches a point where I have to say, hey, this is it. While maybe if I were doing an acting part, I would form the lines of whatever, you know, boundaries or so forth, you know, earlier in the relationships. But it was something, yeah, that I had to do, and it's finished now, and I'm proud of it. It's one of the best things I've ever done, certainly one of the most complete things, although I'm not in it. I feel my contribution as the director of such a project is a continuation, an extension of my acting, the study and the quest for behavior, of knowing behavior, and the Gypsies are wonderful. They're wonderful. Andrei Konchalovsky, the Russian director, called it a masterpiece. I mean, I think he really, really liked it. He wants us to try to get it in the Moscow Film Festival.
I was thinking of you doing that scene with Angelo Evans and your wife, Gail Youngs, who is also an actor, turning to you and saying, Bobby, he's better than you are.
Yeah,
and you said, the little bastard's terrific.
Yeah. Oh, he was wonderful, yeah. He's excellent in the film. They are all the Gypsies. We have one professional actor who's very talented, and, you know, they keep up with each other. Because we had a script, they would say, I couldn't bring it because for the most part, they're an illiterate block of people, or tribe, a race of people, the Gypsies. So they would say, look, let's don't practice, just roll the camera. And they come up with wonderful stuff, and they could repeat. Like my wonderful friend Wilfred Brimley, the actor, a great actor, who I'm going to direct in 2 years in another project, hopefully. He said, these Gypsies, he said, they're not like most actors. They don't stand in line waiting for their turn to talk. He says they really listen and talk and listen. That's why he was impressed with the acting in it.
He does a terrific job, yet again, in High Road to China.
He's so talented. He's like these Gypsies. He's so pure and wonderful as an actor. I'm telling you, he is something. You know, he used to be a bodyguard for Howard Hughes. I needn't tell you all this trivia. You know more than anybody about anybody.
I met him.
Oh,
Bob.
you did?
Yeah, and I remember Paul Newman saying that he threw, during Absence of Malice, Paul Newman turned around and said, who is this guy? Where did he was so good?
I said to the director, where'd you get it? Absolutely. And I want to direct a project with him, and I've started to work on it already in Oklahoma. I've started to work on it, you know, because he's wonderful. But by the time I get to it, he may be a star in his own right by then, or not the star, but, you know, the leading actor in films, which he should be, because he's terrific. We're good
Talking
friends.
about directing a lot, are you leaning more and more behind the camera, or is it actor director?
Well, I'm an actor the rest of my life, you know, but as I say, it's an extension of that. I think that every few years I will direct. This is my second film, Angelo, My Love. I did a documentary, We're Not the Jet Set. And every few years I want to do a film, not so much under establishment auspices or Hollywood auspices. I have to kind of develop it myself, because like John Cassavetes had seen the documentary I'd done. I guess had liked it, had sent a script via a friend of mine to me, and I looked at it and said, I wouldn't know how to direct this. I wouldn't know how to do that. Anything I direct now or in the future has to be something that I kind of develop from me, and comes from me, so I understand it from the groundwork up. I just couldn't take a script that somebody sent me, and I don't think I could direct. But, you know, I hope someday you get to see Angelo, My Love, because we're having a special exhibition showing at the Cannes Film Festival.
Maybe we should all just fly to Cannes and see the gala.
I hope I can get there. It's just, we're very proud of it, you know, and certain people that I respect, like Coppola, certain people like it very much, so that means a lot to me, that certain people I respect a lot do like it.
When you say that your gypsy boy, Angelo Evans, the only person he trusts or trusted was his mother.
That's true.
Did his mother trust you?
I don't know. In a strange way, maybe. we were 7/8 or 3/4 of the way through filming, and we had been working actively on the project for 2.5 years. And for it took 2.5 years to get her to sign a release or a contract on that boy. She put an X. And, you know, she had us. But I guess they figured if they pulled any of the shenanigans that might be pulled by gypsies, or we think the gypsies might pull, and they do at times, definitely. I guess if they figured if they pulled that, if the film weren't finished, if the film wouldn't be finished, it wouldn't be finished. So that's all there was to it. It had to be finished. They weren't dealing with a big company. They were dealing with me. I was paying everybody at the end of the week. And she said to me, now, if I had have pulled out and asked for more money, this was when it was all over, what would have happened? I said, well, I feared that from the day one. I said, probably, that's why I met gypsies from all over, to insulate myself against that fear, or that fear of that thing really happening. And I said I would have had to photograph Angelo, or some way killed him off like a soap opera, and gone another way in the story. And she said, you wouldn't have. She became very superstitious. I said, yeah. I said, yeah, I would have had to. But they didn't, you know, and it took a long time for me to get her to sign that release. And so I guess it was two strange cultures meeting, and they just, maybe they trusted the fact that I would do this. She felt that I would do this for her son, who wanted it very much. The fact, a well-known actor putting much on the line, 5 years of a lot of emotional makeup on the line, and money, all my money, you know. So they probably thought I was nuts, but we did it, and like Ulu Grossbart said, it was a major miracle to finish it, and he says there's not a false moment in it, so I somewhat trust him very much, you know, very much so maybe it was worthwhile.
I look forward to seeing it.
Yeah.
Very much. Yeah. On that, we will take another break. Be right back with Robert Duvall.